bienvenidos, welcome. So today's goal is to talk more about the present progressive. I've done other videos on it, mostly about the regular verbs and a short recap video, but today I want to go into the regular verbs again, how does the tense work, but also including more irregular verbs that you're going to see with this particular set of conjugations. So let's get started. So let's begin by defining the present progressive. The present progressive is part of the indicative, and it's used to say what someone is doing right now. Now, because it's used to talk about what's happening right now, it's used very sparingly in Spanish, typically because it's providing emphasis. You're really emphasizing that the action is happening right now. So how do you form conjugations using the present progressive? Well, the present progressive is a compound tense, which means there's multiple parts to your actual conjugation. It's not just a one-word conjugation like with the normal present tense. So for our formula, we're going to use a star plus present participle. So first we're going to conjugate a star in the present tense. So it should look like this. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. And remember that there are accents in all but the first row of the conjugation chart. These are super important because if you forget them on some of these, you'll change the meaning of the words you're saying. So we get a star into the present tense. That's step one. Now we need to get the verb that we're using into its ing form. So the present participle, that's just a fancy way of saying the ing form of a verb, like talking, running, writing. The other name you could see for this is the gerund form of the verb. So for AR verbs, we add the ending ando to get the ing. So if I have the verb hablar, to say talking, I would say hablando. So I take off the AR and add ando on the end to get the ing. ER and IR share the same ending. To get the ing, we add yendo to form the present participle. So if I've got comer, we take off the ER and add IENDO for comiendo. Same thing happens with an IR verb. So if it's vivir, viviendo. IR disappears and we add yendo on the end. This is how we form regular present participles. So all the ones that aren't strange, they follow this predictable pattern. Now, I should mention, if you learned, when you learned to star and when to use it, if you learned the acronym PLACE, position, location, action, condition, emotion, those uses of a star, this tense, the present progressive, is actually the action in place because you're talking about things that are happening right now, and it uses a star. Now, of course, there's going to be irregulars too. So in this case, a star stays the same no matter what. But what could be irregular are the present participles, so the ing forms of the verb. So there's two types of irregular participles that I want to take a look at. The first one I call double vowel verbs. Double vowel verbs are when you look at the infinitive and you see these side-by-side vowels like you've got here. And again, these are part of the infinitive. So these verbs, specifically leer, traer, and creer, they would have too many vowels if we followed the normal procedure of putting yendo on the end, because then you'd have 3 vowels in a row. Very difficult to say. So for all of these, in yendo, this I is going to change to a Y. So they're much easier to pronounce. So to say reading, we say leyendo. Bringing, trayendo. There we go. Trayendo. Then for believing, creyendo. So again, the I in what would usually be yendo changes to a Y in these double vowel verbs. So that's type 1 for irregular present participles. The others are just plain old irregular. They're just weird and they have spelling changes. So you'll notice that in this list, decir, to say or to tell, pedir, to ask for, repetir, to repeat, seguir, to continue or follow, servir, to serve, vestir, to dress, dormir, to sleep. These all have irregular forms in other tenses too. So that should be a red flag, like, oh, there's probably something weird with these. There is in a lot of tenses, and this is one of them. Now, these top ones, in their stem as participles, their E is going to change to an I. So here's what they'll look like as participle forms. Alright, so decir becomes diciendo, and it's got this I instead of its E. Pedir, pidiendo. Repetir, repitiendo. Seguir, siguiendo. Servir, sirviendo. Vestir, vistiendo. So again, the E is changed to an I. Now in dormir, we're going to have this O change to a U in the participle form. So that will look like durmiendo. Like so, with the U instead of an O in the stem of the verb. So now we've got saying or telling, asking for, repeating, following or continuing, serving, dressing, sleeping. All the present participle forms, but again, they're irregular, so we need to memorize them. I should point out too that vestir, you've probably seen it as vestirse to get dressed, the reflexive verb. It'll still have that spelling change even in the reflexive, so that nice little change to its stem. It also can mean to wear when it's not reflexive, vestir, so just keep that in mind meaning-wise. I just want to take a second to remind you that you have some awesome resources available to you, like the internet. So there's this awesome site, Spanish Dictionary, so it's SpanishDict.com. And I love it, not only because it's a dictionary, but because it has this little conjugation tab when you search a verb. So if you put in the infinitive form, click on conjugation, it'll show up with all these amazing things. So the reason I find it so helpful is because it's going to give you all the different conjugations, but the best part is that if there's something weird about the verb, it'll put it in red for you so that you know to watch out for it. So we're working with participles. So we look right up here. And of course there's, all the other tenses and moods as well. But for us right now, participles, we're working with the present participle for the present progressive. So for the verb pedir, we would be working with pidiendo. Now the I here is red to let us know that it's a weird spelling for this participle, and I can know how to spell it correctly. So when in doubt, look it up. Use the resources you have available to you. They are so helpful. Let's take a look at some examples. We're going to pretend that these actions are definitively happening right now so we can use the present progressive. Pause the video and try to put these into the present progressive form, and we'll see how you do. I am writing my report. Yo estoy escribiendo mi informe. Estoy gets the I am. Writing comes from escribiendo. I need both to make sense. If I just write escribiendo, it'd be like saying I writin', not I am writing. So we need to make sure we have the estar and the participle. Yo, of course, you could leave off because the estoy tells us that it's yo. He is singing. Él está cantando. You are learning a lot. Tú estás aprendiendo mucho. Now remember that you've got the estar and then the participle, the ing form. Because we just have a lot, it's not next to any noun. It's just mucho when it's by itself. So tú estás aprendiendo mucho. Now the last step with the present progressive that we need to be aware of is what to do with object pronouns. So as a brief reminder, remember that when I say object pronouns, I'm talking about reflexive pronouns, direct object pronouns or DOPs, indirect object pronouns or IOPs. What do you do with those when we're working with the present progressive? Well, let's take a look at the sample. ¿Están ustedes esperando el autobús? Are you, plural, waiting for the bus? Now, this could be an instance where a DOP is used. We've got the verb to wait. What's being waited for? The bus. So when we've got these replies, to sound more legitimate and more authentic, we can use pronouns to replace el autobús. And remember that would be lo for our DOP. So there's two ways to do this. Now, I've already put the verbs for us here. We've got our conjugation of a star, then the present participle, same in each one. Now, we know that we're allowed to put object pronouns before conjugated verbs. We have a conjugated verb. It's estamos. So I could put the lo right there. Sí, lo estamos esperando. Yes, we are waiting for it. If you use practice sites like Conjuguemos, they most often prefer this for whatever reason in their coding. So just be aware that this is one of the options you can use. If, let's say, you were to include the nosotros, remember that would go before the DOP. The DOP has to go directly before the verb. But of course you don't need nosotros here because the estamos gives it away. Now, the other thing we can do with the present progressive is we are allowed to attach to the ing form of the verb. So we can attach to the participle. So that would be here, esperando. So we're going to put the lo right on the end of that. Oop, I'm going to put that a little bit closer. I don't want to make my viewer think that it's two separate words. It's all one word, so that's important. Now, when we do this, when we add something to the end of a participle like this, a present participle to be specific, the a in ando needs to get an accent mark because we just messed with the length of the word and the pronunciation of it. So we need to make sure that we don't forget that accent mark. So again, for AR, which is ando for the ing, the accent goes over the A. Now let's say I had a different verb here that happened to be ER or IR. You still need an accent. It's just going to go on the E in endo. So just be aware that if you do attach at the end, you need to watch out for adding that accent mark. Now this sample that I did happens to use a DOP, a direct object pronoun, but the same process applies for any object pronouns. So reflexives, IOPs, DOPs, they all use this process if you're going to use them with the present progressive in Spanish. Okay, let's see some ejemplos, some examples of the present progressive, so actions happening right now, but with object pronouns. So take a look at this, give it a try, then we'll go through it together. I am writing it, so this is a DOP example. It is the report, so it'll be lo for our pronoun. Yo lo estoy escribiendo, or yo estoy escribiéndolo. Remember, all one word, no space, and it's got that accent on the E. He is singing a song to him. Él le está cantando una canción, or él está cantándole una canción, with the le attached, all one word, accent on the A in cantando. You're washing your hands, right? Te estás lavando las manos, ¿verdad? Or estás lavándote las manos, ¿verdad? So attached to the participle with an accent on the A. So we've got a reflexive example here, an IOP, direct object pronoun here, and a DOP, direct object pronoun here. Remember, both of these versions are valid, so that's why there's or in each of these. You could put the pronoun before the conjugation of a star, or attach it to your present participle, but watch out for accent marks if you do. All right, and that's the present progressive, how to form it with regular participles as well as irregular participles, and we even went into object pronouns. So those are the DOPs, the IOPs, the reflexive pronouns, how to use those with the present progressive tense specifically. I hope that was helpful. Remember to practice and memorize those irregulars. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you real soon. Nos vemos. Adios.